Hello and welcome back to Why Such a Fast podcast. Today's I'm joined by Laura Shaw again from Training Progress. Hi, Laura, and welcome back to the podcast.
Hi, Christina.
So today, Laura, we're going to discuss what to consider when buying and selling a vet practice. So now, Laura, given your background as a vet surgeon and practice manager, in your experience, what should a vet practice consider when buying and selling, or particularly selling a practice?
Yeah, I think it's worth considering that when a business is buying a veterinary practice, they're buying the processes that are already in place and they're buying the liabilities that are in place. So if you don't have really good processes in place, for example, your GDPR processes and processes around data processing, then that's going to drive down the value of your business. So flipping that around, if you're selling your business, it's really important to have really good quality processes in place, because that is going to reduce the potential liabilities and increase the value of your practice. One of the things that also happens when you're selling your practice is you may well work there for a little bit yourself. A lot of people will sell their practices and remain as clinical directors. There's not often a sort of a sell-out kind of period of 2 or 3 years where they've got to stay and keep the profits up during that period. But at some point, probably, if you're selling your practice, it's probably because you want to move on and move away from the practice. And also, it's a time of staff turnover. You often have, if the boss you've been working with for the last 20 years is leaving, maybe that's a time for, Mary in accounts to retire if she's been with the business for the last 18 years. That you do have a little bit of churn in the practice there. So it's really important for the ability to maintain those profits after the sale. To ensure that actually you've got really good, robust processes in place, so that for everything that you do, whether that be your clinical processes or your front of house or whatever it is, that there are processes in place that will be maintained whether you're there or not, and that you've got the training in place so that when Mary does leave from accounts, that your new account person can pick up where they've left off and they know exactly what it is that they've got to do, and the processes will just continue. So it's really important to have that kind of structure in place to help maintain the profits and therefore maintain the value of your business.
Absolutely. And also from the other side, from the buying side, so when buying a business, any business, as you said, the buyer will inherit the existing processes, which if some of them are bad processes, then the buyer will incur all of the risk of repercussion, which could then lead to complaints, potentially dissatisfied customer, and even potential fines. So if we look at a real example, this is a few years ago when the GDPR first came out, the Marriott Hotel was fined 18.4 million under the GDPR because in their merger and acquisition of another hotel chain, they did not carry out a proper GDPR due diligence. And so they inherit the bad processes and the bad systems that led to a massive data breach where guest name, credit card details, bank details, and contact details were exposed.
Wow.
So the moral of the story really is, when investigating a business with the intention to then buy it, do not just limit your assessment on the financials, the assets, the commercial legal elements, but also look down into the details, look at the processes and the system, and that they are, and what they are in place, they are fit for purpose, and whether they are compliant to the GDPR. Mm-hmm. Now, I would like to add that when I say compliant to the GDPR, I mean in terms of how the data is being used, collected, stored, disposed of, etc. And then do the system have the data protection features, such as encryption, for example, or ability to delete certain things or modify, etc. Now, what we need to remember is that there is no such a thing as a GDPR compliant software, system, or app. It is the purpose and how it's being used that makes it compliant. So you need to look at do the processes and the system of the business that you are intending to buy, do they meet the purpose and proportionality of the data that's being processed? Do they have the correct lawful basis under which they're operating within their processes? Do they have the correct data protection agreement in place with processors and sub-processors, and so on? So don't just limit your assessment, as I said, or your due diligence to the financial, the assets and the commercial side, but also look into the operational and the compliance, because that it's what, and the marketing as well, because actually, if anything is going to go wrong, that's where it's going to go wrong, and that's where it's going to hit you hard, like it has happened to the Marriott hotels. So I think there is quite something to consider there.
Yeah, so I guess it gets flipping it again, and if you're selling a practice, what you want to demonstrate those things then is your processes all written, organized and accessible, so that actually you have got that you can prove, well, these are our processes for this, and this is how we've got all those documentation in place. So make it easy for yourself, make sure it's all there and accessible.
Yes, so you don't want the processes to be in people's heads. They need to be properly mapped and documented into an appropriate system. And as we said in many other episodes, Training Progress can support that and does support that in many organizations. And, so if you don't have such a thing, it's worth considering. It's not an expensive tool, but it does support your organization with regards to processes and document information, which is actually key as well. Laura, did you want to add anything else?
No, I think I'm happy. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So Laura, how can our audience reach you should they wish to know more about Training Progress?
Yeah, so as our website's a good way to find out more about us, training-progress.com, or you can check us out on LinkedIn, and our email, if you want to get in contact, is info@training-progress.com.
Excellent. And if you would like to know more about GDPR and how it applies to your business and how it can support you to set yourself apart from your competitors, please get in touch at info@cvgsolutions.co.uk, or you can find us on social media, on LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram. Just search for CVG Solutions, or also through our website, cvgsolutions.co.uk. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and see you all on the next time. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Christina.